because Serie B is it's a wild league and a lot of things. It's because Serie B is it's a wild league and a lot of things go on. So
it's a wild league. Well said. And I'm sure we'll have a lot of. We're gonna laugh a lot about our predictions.
Guaranteed to be wrong. That's just
absolutely 100%.
Cittadella are the only team in Veneto for this season because Vicenza failed to get promoted. Venezia went up to Serie A.
I would be happy with Carrarese and Reggiana being last and second to last. We are going to be touching upon each and every one of the teams on the league, so stay with us, interact with us, and together we're going to be speaking Serie B. Roma! Welcome to the 30th episode of Speaking Serie B. A lot has happened during the most recent round 31. Only 7 games are left to be played, so 21 points left for the teams that need points to avoid relegation, and for those who are fighting for promotion, and those which are fighting for a playoff spot. So a lot of surprises, Spezia losing at home, Frosinone, very convincing win in Genoa with Sampdoria, Cittadella drawing in Cremona with Cremonese. We'll talk about it all. Together with me is Jake Jovine of Città Calcio USA. Jake, welcome.
Hey, welcome. I've got this finally using this new microphone, so I'm sure, hopefully it all works. But yeah, I just got done with a podcast in Italian, so we'll be... yeah, so I don't know, like I felt like my Italian was so I always start out strong, like but then as it goes down, like I start to run out of gas, maybe kind of like what Spezia are doing right now, running out of steam towards the end. Sorry if
it
that was
certainly looks like it. Yeah,
comparison, but no, I'm looking forward to that podcast. So just be sure to go check that out if you'd like. But yeah, here we are, 7 games to go. It's now for Cittadella, at least now is really, they've got 6 out of the last 7 games are scontri diretti. There are games against the teams in the relegation zone, which is very, very scary, but also exciting. Because right now, like all I'm looking forward to is Saturday morning against Carrarese, which should be just a crunching match to be a part of.
Indeed. So the most recent round 31, started with Spezia playing with Brescia in La Spezia on Friday, and it was an unexpected loss for the Eagles, and we can't say that we do not deserve that we deserve to win, because we didn't, meaning that in the beginning we started strong as usual, but then right after 4.5 minutes Brescia had the possibility, and they did score out of a mistake of our goalkeeper. But they did score because of a mistake of our goalkeeper, but we didn't lose because of our goalkeeper, because they scored like after 4 minutes that the game started. So we had almost 90 minutes to recoup the game and even win it. We shot like 25 shots, only 5 on target. So if we're not able to regain with so much time on the clock, left on the clock, such a particular game, because Brescia on paper wasn't certainly in great shape. So I must say that as much as I don't like to admit it, we deserve to lose these games if we're not able to score. I mean, yes, we had opportunities, and people say luck, but 25 opportunities, you cannot not score once. If you're not scoring once, you're really deserving to lose at that point. So it is what it is. But thanks to Cittadella, that in Cremona was able to draw 2-2. We only lost 2 points. We only lost 1 point to Cremonese. That's following, because at this point, as you said, we're kind of running out of steam. We're losing momentum. So it will be interesting to see what we're going to be able to do in the next game with Sampdoria. We'll talk about it. But at this point, the direct promotion for Spezia is over. The opportunity, I guess, not mathematically just yet, but the playoffs are more realistic than ever. So we gotta
Yeah,
look out for Cremona. Sorry, go ahead.
I kind of have to agree. I think it is more likely. You really just got to make sure you lock up the third spot, because if you finish third place, you're still in a really good position because you get that automatic place in the semifinals and you get home field advantage. So we know, even though in the last few weeks the Pico hasn't been as much of a fortress as it was the earlier part of the season, it still is a big advantage, because if the score
I
is
don't want
tied.
to monopolize the episode talking about the Pico and what happened. We can talk about it as we move on. Please do tell us what happened in Cremona with Cremonese, Cittadella drawing 2-2 before we continue on. Sorry if I cut you on that line of thought.
Yeah. So this was a game on Saturday, and it was the first game after the international break. Cittadella had came off of one win and 5 losses, I believe, or it was 4 losses in the last 5 games. But anyhow, not the greatest of form for Cittadella going into a tough place, a tough team like Cremonese. We have talked about many times how Cremonese have one of the best rosters in Serie B. However, in terms of playing style, I don't know how much you could say they've been very much convincing, because this was a game for Cittadella. For 70 minutes, they were in control. Cremonese, they had possession, they had, the ball, they did whatever, but they really didn't look like scoring at all. And Cittadella punished them and made their mistakes they made their chances count. Simone Rabi scoring 20 seconds after after the second half, and then Okonkwo opening the scoring in the 38th minute. But for large parts of this game, for really the entirety of this game, Cremonese did not offer anything. They did not look like scoring. And then it happened again. Another collapse from Cittadella inside the space of, this time it was only 2 minutes. Valotti scoring from a corner kick. It was parried away by Castrati. And then 2 minutes later, a miscue in the back, kind of similar to the game against Catanzaro a few weeks ago in Catanzaro, where a mistake between the goalkeeper and defender, a miscommunication, which led to a goal. This time it was Charles Piquel who's scoring in an empty net after a miscue between Ellen Castrati and Elio Capardossi. The 2 international players coming back from international duty, making the mistake there, allowing Cremonese to score. It's a little frustrating for Cittadella, because this was a game they could have easily won. And you go into this game thinking, okay, you take a point away from Cremonese, a point in Cremona, that is a good result. I think you got to look at it like that. If you say you're going to get a result in Cremona at the start of this game, you take that in a heartbeat. However, given the way the game went, I think Cittadella definitely left 2 points on the board there. However, we have to keep reminding ourselves that this is Serie B, so really every point from this point on is going to matter. And currently, Cittadella are 1 point out of the relegation zone. So it was really fundamental. It was hugely important that they did not concede another one, because they could have easily lost this game towards the end when Cremonese was really piling on the pressure. They could have easily...
Yeah, I see that they had... just looking at the stats, I did not watch the game, but total dominance, 21 shots, 7 on target, 75% possession.
I think the stats could be a little misleading, because really, besides those 2 goals, Cremonese did not look like a 4th place team. They did not. They had a lot of possession. They passed a lot, but really it was a lot of sideways passing, a lot of backwards passing. Really, this was a game where Cittadella, I thought, played pretty well. Up until those 2 mistakes that led to the goals, they were playing well. But it is still a point. They didn't lose this game. If they had lost this game, I think that would have been a really major red flag. But they at least get something from this game. They do get a point from this game. So I think it was really important from that aspect. So now it is 6 out of the last 7 games are scontri diretti. So we'll see. It's going to be huge.
Crucial point for Cittadella, especially not only with Cremonese, but in Cremona. So crucial, vital point for the relegation, to avoid the relegation, for the relegation battle. Here is a comment coming from your channel, so you're welcome to read it.
Oh, well, Thank you. Ciao, guys. Greetings from Canada, says Wojtek Zerwiski. I'm sorry if I'm probably just not pronounced that name correct, but hello. Thank you for listening from Canada. We're glad you're here and glad we are speaking Serie B to you.
Indeed, indeed. Together. Yeah, this Zurowski last name sounds Polish. We had Zurkowski, we had Rezza, we have Wisniewski in La Spezia. So they do sound Polish. Maybe the heritage is that. Speaking of the Polish, sorry if I go back to the Eagles, to Spezia. One of the disappointments we had in the game, and it is a news of the day that probably Arkadiusz Rezza, which is our fifth player on the midfield, the left wing basically, is probably ended the season early due to an injury during the game. He didn't get hurt due to a collision with any other player. It was just running like the wind as he normally does, and he just had to stop. So there was a clear muscle issue for him, as it normally happens. Actually, I was amazed by the fact that he played as much as he did this season, because as we learned to label him, it's sort of a player made out of crystal. He's very fragile due to his fitness condition, always at the top. So it's not unusual to lose him.
I will say, I did watch the second half of this game, and yeah, it was for Spezia. The red card from Casetta. I don't know what he was thinking, because he's already on a yellow card. He makes that really clumsy challenge, and Spezia, having already been struggling, already pushing for a goal, now they are reduced to 10 men, which is has to be frustrating. But once again, right on cue, we were talking about Cicizzola in the podcast, or the episode before, just given what happened to Stefano Gori, and Cicizzola had been kind of making some mistakes every now and then, so kind of right on cue. But yeah, this was a game where it's just a really bad loss. I mean, if you look at Brescia, they had only won one game since the start of November. I think that was one win in 18 games, and
we revive an almost dead team, basically. Also because before that game, they were there with Sampdoria, and they would have been the two teams facing each other to avoid the relegation through the playouts, if I'm not mistaken. And now introducing the next argument, which is the astonishing 0-3 result between Sampdoria and Frosinone. Probably this is the most unexpected result of the week. Not because Frosinone, that is gaining momentum and is in a better and better condition, actually now having some ambition for the playoff zone, was able to win, but because of how Frosinone was able to win in Genoa with this Sampdoria that, according to the protagonist of our most recent episode of Spazio al Prossimo, they are really down, giù per I coppi. Like we say, that they're slipping down basically the roof, when the ground underneath you is just, slipping away, and you have no control of the horrible situation you find yourself in. Before hearing your thoughts about this game, I wanted to bring attention to another comment of, I don't know how to pronounce the name, Wojtek, I assume. Yes, I'm Polish, living in Canada right now, driving the truck to Chicago in this moment. So happy that we can keep you company. Do let us know what team of the Serie B League you are supporting. And we'll do our best to talk more about it since you're here with us today. What are your thoughts about this game, Jake? Then we'll go to see our predictions. For sure, neither of us, if I remember correctly, were expecting these results, and we didn't do that well with our predictions, but we'll get to that in a second. Tell us about Sampdoria Frosinone.
It is definitely now a red alert for Sampdoria. I mean, this was after the game, the fans were protesting. It was really just a nasty atmosphere towards the players. They're now talking about maybe Pirlo coming back to try to save them. Simplice has just not worked out. And yeah, it's Sampdoria, like we've been just saying for weeks, oh, surely there's no way they're going to go down to Serie C. Well, now they are currently on 32 points. They're currently tied for that 18th place spot. So it is really, the problem for them is just they can't win. And they had 2 wins at the start of February. but since October, that's kind of it. They really, if you look at their final remaining schedule, it also is kind of tricky because not only they have the away trip to Spezia, the derby, they have the next game is at home against Cittadella, which is looking to be a huge match at the bottom of the table. Then it's 2 away trips, both at the synthetic turf fields against Juve Stabia and away against Carrarese, home against Cremonese, then away against Catanzaro, and then the final day, another scontri diretti against Salernitana. So this is definitely Coda also missed the penalty in this game. So it really is just a really terrible situation for Sampdoria. I kind of feel sorry for them, just seeing how a big club like them, like former, not long ago, they were comfortably in Serie A, and just to see how they've fallen. So it is really now very, they were struggling last year, for majority until they, had that, little run up the table, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen again. And let's see.
It is an historic or historical team of Italy.
Yes,
they have historic or historical.
Historic team.
Yeah, so it is an historic team of our peninsula, of Italy. As a matter of fact, compared to the other team from Genoa, the Genoa team, basically, they have they've won much more than Genoa did historically, and today they find themselves on the edge of the abyss, basically, because it is a money game after all. We saw that they did their best to solidify their roster, right? By acquiring players such as Tutino, the greater scorer of the league last season, that he got injured, unfortunately for them. They did add Pirlo, a big name, as a coach on the bench. And now, as you said, they're probably regretting sending him away, sacking him. Also because it was a name that drew attention. They have a very young squad as average. And a lot of youngsters were really looking up to the coach at that point. Then they already changed twice this season, because let's remember that Leonardo Semplici is the second coach that follow Pirlo sacking, basically. And then they have Coda. It was with Cremonese last season, and this seemed that they're going to sign the best scorer of last season. Most certainly this season they're going to be among the protagonists, and yet they are, as I said, on the edge of the abyss. And it could be really the beginning of the end, because should Sampdoria go to Lega Pro, they would also lose a lot of their financial backing, because they have to stay on track with the results that they're going to conceive through their performances. They need to be able to go back to Serie A within a certain time to maintain the financial backing that saved them from all the issues and the challenges they faced in these most recent years. And this is exactly what and then I'm going to wrap up, sorry, Jake. And this is exactly what Franco Nativo and Claudio Bianchi told us yesterday, Monday night, in Spazio al Prossimo. I don't want to use a very strong word, but this is what it is, for lack of a better one on my vocabulary. They are desperate. They don't know how to solve the situation. Please go ahead.
Yeah, well, we could talk definitely about the struggles for Sampdoria. They are really desperate. I think they're just going to throw the kitchen sink in these next 7 games at everything. So Spezia needs to be careful about that game. But really,
absolutely.
I think what's really disadvantage. I think it could be a disadvantage or advantage for Sampdoria is just the pressure. The players are facing just. They probably have them out of all the teams that are fighting for the relegation, like the team with the most pressure that cannot get relegated is Sampdoria. Because if you look at for Cittadella, for example, they've been overachieving for years now. They should never have been in Serie B for 9 straight seasons. But for a club like Sampdoria, who is expected to be in Serie A after having a season like this, and with the the financial difficulties, the players they have, they just a relegation would just be a way more than a disaster. And you saw it after the game against Frosinone, where the fans were protesting. They were insulting. They were throwing flares on the pitch. So I think the players really feel it a little. I think it's maybe even worse than the Bari situation last year, where they were on the verge of getting relegated. But I think this is way more of a feeling for Samp. But let's not also take credit for Frosinone. That is now 4 straight wins.
Good point. Right.
7 undefeated.
Well said.
They are currently not that far away for the playoff spots, and they play the bottom of the table Cosenza next at home. However, after that, they do have quite of a tricky run. It is both away trips to Cesena and Sassuolo before hosting Spezia. Then it's away against Pisa, and then they are at home against Cittadella, and then away against Palermo. So I don't think they're out of the woods quite yet. We'll see if their incredible run continues, but it's really incredible how they were really in the bottom of the table for majority of the season. Now they are rocking up.
I did not see this colpo di coda. I did not see this turnaround for Frosinone coming at all. So I'm happy for them. And, these results sucked back Reggiana, losing with Sassuolo, the derby, if I'm not mistaken, back into the heart of this fight to avoid relegation, where we find another big team, Salernitana, coming from Serie A. So now currently at risk with a double drop down, and Cosenza is on 20th place with 25 points. Probably, I really feel for the Wolves. How close we are to Antonio and other, let's say, colleagues, but fans from Cosenza. So it's going to be an exciting end to this championship for sure. Exactly. And looking at other results, I don't know if you want to tell us something about this Sassuolo Reggiana 5-1. We talked about it during the week.
Let's kind of go over our predictions, because I'm sure a lot of people want to see that while we talk a little more about the derbies and the
absolutely. As I do that, please read these comments as I am moving to setting up the next screen sharing.
Well, Wojciech, I think his name is, cheering for Palermo in Italy, but Wisla Krakow will always be the number 1 in my heart. So I assume that's a Polish team. I'm going to kind of look it up now.
It is.
But that's very interesting.
From Cracovia, that's how we would call it. Yeah, it's one of the most historical teams, I think, of the Polish league. You see, we should do something more, even more expanding, not only speaking Serie B, but God knows what we could
Polish
find.
League.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly that. So very cool. Palermo is a team with great ambitions. They've got themselves back in the playoffs with that win in Salerno, but it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds from now until the end of the season. But anyway, let's go into these predictions. I'm going to tell you right now, I did horrible in this round. I went from
I did just like you did.
That great round with 8 points to now this with we'll see the final tally. But Spezia losing against Brescia, we talked about that. We both thought this was going to be a Spezia win. However, 0 points for each of us. Sampdoria, Frosinone, same thing, 0 points for each. Both thought Samp was going to get the win. They did not. Mantova Südtirol. This was a big win for Mantova. They had been struggling for a while against a Südtirol team that been on the rise a bit of late. But it looks like the international break came at the right time for Mantova, who gets a 2-0 win, giving them some life in this relegation race. Cosenza Pisa, this game was over in the first half, I should say. 2 red cards for Cosenza, 3 goals for Pisa. It's not really helping Spezia's case but this was my little joy for this week, because I do get a point for predicting 2 for Pisa. Modena Catanzaro, this was a kind of a tough game to predict. Modena actually getting the victory, pushing them a little closer to safety, but we both get 0 points. Elia, you finally get a point for predicting Cremonese Cittadella 2-2 draw. Cremonese
Finally.
coming back from 2 goals, it could have easily been a Cremonese win from that late pressure, but you do get a point for
finally a prediction from the heart, because with Cosenza I was hoping on an X, supporting the Wolves, now supporting Cittadella. I do get a point. I believe in you guys. I believe in you.
All right, we need it for these last 7 games. Sassuolo Reggiana, this was the derby, a bit overshadowed by the fact that a lot of the fan protests and the issues. It was I kind of watched a little bit of the game, but then I had to turn off because there was no atmosphere. There was no really nobody in the stands from both ultra sets arguing about this, but really it was Sassuolo playing Reggiana out of the park. 5-1 win. Sassuolo, really, I think this is really match point for them, because I don't know the exact scenarios, but I believe they can clinch promotion this week if they win in Palermo and Spezia falls against Sampdoria. But either way, they're going to be promoted. Let's just say.
Hopefully, we're not going to let them celebrate this week that we have the derby with Sampdoria. But anything can happen after losing with Brescia. So
we'll see. But we get 0 points for that, and as well as predicting Cesena for winning. But in fact, Juve Stabia won that game 2-1. Very impressive win by Juve Stabia, really getting one step closer to the playoffs in that game. So very, very...
And exactly, an important win for the playoffs outcome.
Bari stumbling a little bit in Carrara, losing a goal advantage. 2-1 for Carrarese. Big win for Carrarese, pushing them just outside the relegation zone, entering that big clash against Cittadella this upcoming week. And then finally, we had Salernitana Palermo. Palermo getting a 2-1 victory. Salernitana making it close at the end, but Palermo just too much for them. We both thought it was an X. We get 0 points for that. So the grand total of measly 1 point for each of us for this round.
Unbelievable. So this is the worst round we've ever had.
Yeah, partiraccia, as they say, right?
I didn't update the averages, but our averages are going down after the 31 round. You go back to under 4, 3.94, and I go to 3.74.
But I still obtain, what is that? I think it's a 5 or 6 point advantage.
Yeah. You maintain the advantage because I scored just as much as you did. You go to 122, I go to 116.
So it is all to play for as the final 7 rounds we're going to be predicting. So that's going to be very, very fun.
Yeah, absolutely. The gap, it's fun because although the gap seems like a lot of points, we're not scoring like 3 points every, if you win or if you lose. So there is a lot of room to gain a lot of ground, even if it seems like that we're very far apart right now. But
exactly.
I just wanted to talk more about Palermo with in light of our Polish friend that is following our conversation today. I was looking for the stats of Salernitana Palermo. So this was an important game for Salernitana, playing at home and trying to do their best to move out, to gain some momentum, I keep on saying, to get out of the relegation zone. And the best that they could do was just to score at the 91st minute, just to score the goal of the flag, as we call it in Italian, il gol della bandiera, while Palermo was already leading by 2 goals, as usual, let's say, with the refound Matteo Brunori and the new arrival Poyampalo. So while Spezia signed the comeback of Ciccizola and the arrival of Lapadula that have been costing us points, and no disrespect, but as of right now, that's the reality. Poyampalo has been the player that is really helping Palermo to at least keep the hopes for a playoff spot alive. So good on them.
Yeah.
Good on them. Go ahead.
Yeah. Interesting thing about Salernitana is that in 2025, they've only lost, going into this match, they only lost 1 home game, and I did not know that. And that was against Sassuolo. That was at the start of January. So they've only lost 2 games at the Orecchie since the start of the new year. So I think that's something to not overlook when you're looking at a chance to survive, because they have what is it? 3 home games remaining. They're all teams in the relegation zone, or fighting for relegation. They have Südtirol, Cosenza, and Mantova. So very interesting. And obviously, they still have to play Spezia in La Spezia. So it's going to be one to watch.
Indeed, indeed. Going back to the chat, Wojtek, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right again. I was close enough earlier. Was saying exactly that he is cheering for Palermo, as you read, but Wisla Krakow will always be number one in his heart. And I just did a quick research, as we said, it's a team from Cracovia, we say in Italy, in Italian. So Krakow, probably. And they're currently competing in the first league, the second level of the Polish Football League system, following relegation from 2021-2022 season. And it ranks fourth in the number of national titles, winning 13. So awesome. Just, quick pillola, just to veer off. Also, congratulations, Elia, on how you pronounce my name. It was close to perfect. I'm impressed. Awesome. It was just pure luck. I'm sorry. And I heard that Cosenza brought Massimiliano Alvini back as a head coach, even though he got fired a month ago. Yes, Cosenza is another one of those teams, almost like Sampdoria, that they're trying anything they can to keep up the hopes of avoiding relegation. Go ahead, Jake.
Yep, this is I totally forgot about this, but yeah, Alvini is back. He's back on the touchline of Cosenza 1 month after initially getting fired or resigning. I don't remember. Also for Reggiana, there was a change on the bench. Vialli is out for Reggiana after that 5-1 defeat. I forgot. I do not know who they replaced them, but yeah, it's interesting. And then obviously Sampdoria, we were talking about maybe Pirlo coming back. So just the typical Italian
management style of the situation.
Hiring managers left and right in order to try to survive anything. So
indeed.
Yeah.
So I'm actually happy for Alvini because after he got sacked last season in Spezia, he got sacked this season in Cosenza. I don't know what would have been the alternatives in the near future for Massimiliano Alvini. So being called back in Cosenza at least gives him a chance, and as his entourage to achieve a positive result to the end of the season. But anyhow, since you mentioned also the sacking of the coach of Reggiana, let's move on with our prediction and predict the first game of round 32, the upcoming round of the Serie B League. Reggiana, starting with Reggiana Cremonese, Friday, April 1st at 2:30 p.m. Florida time. So it's going to be at 8:30 p.m. CET, if I'm not mistaken. Go ahead, Jake. What's your prediction on this game?
Yeah, Reggiana, this is the Friday night game, so Reggiana could either make a statement in the relegation race or Cremonese could put the pressure on for Spezia for that third place spot. So, watching Cremonese in the game last weekend, it's just one of those teams where I feel like they could do way more. They could do much more just given what the team they have. I wasn't really convinced by the way they played, and just the recent results also for this team. It's just very inconsistent. Reggiana, they have a new manager. I should probably look that up to see who they got in place of Vialli. Which is, Alvini.
As you
was
do that, I'm
sacked.
going to read these quick comments talking about Alvini. They remind us on the chat. Wojtek tells us that also Alvini was sacked from Cremonese in 2022-2023 season. So, yeah, he hasn't been able to deliver. This would be the third bench that is not able to deliver, the third consecutive bench that is not able to deliver on.
And I have some news. I was just looking. Spezia looks like the Curva Ferrovia is sold out for the game, so it should be a rocking atmosphere in La Spezia. And Semplice is apparently confirmed for the game, but this could be the final game for him if he doesn't get a result for this. But for Reggiana for this game, I'm actually going to predict an X. I don't trust Cremonese to get a win in this. I think Reggiana will just do enough for the draw, as I still continue to look for who is their new head coach. It is well, they got Mattia Destro as a player, I believe, but It is Davide Dionigi. Dionigi.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know who that is, but you know,
No. I heard him. Now I'm not prepared about the subject. Sorry, but yeah, he's been a coach for a while. So I agree with your prediction. It's an X for me as well, simply because, as we normally say, the new coach brings some sort of an electric shock um, to the locker room. And Cremonese, although they really need to win to prove themselves candidate, to reach Spezia after drawing at home with Cittadella, might not, might start to feel the pressure. And I think people in general, players especially, perform better when they are relaxed. So Cremonese probably starting to feel the pressure as they get closer to Spezia, that they got something to fight for, and that instead of stimulating might actually stress them out a little bit. I don't know. I assume so. In light of the unpredicted draw with Cittadella, I assume that in Reggio Emilia are not going to be able to do better than an X. The next game is Brescia-Mantova, which is a game to pay attention to for the Eagles fans, for the Spezia fans, simply because we just lost with Brescia in Spezia, and Mantova will be the next opponent for Spezia in Mantova. So Brescia did win, but Spezia made the game. It was in control of the game, which is astonishing, and that's the reason why we deserve to lose. Because if you're dominant, you should convert that dominance into a positive result. So, but we can say that Brescia is a great team. Yes, they got strong individualities, but they weren't in any kind of a good situation. They struggled a lot until the unpredicted win in La Spezia. So I don't know how they're going to do with Mantova, but the field advantage, considering also that Mantova is in the relegation, at right out of the relegation zone, if I'm not mistaken, with 33 points, sitting in 16th place, only 1 point away from Brescia. Well, Mantova is going to play their hearts out to, try to win a game with an opponent that is at their that they can actually win against. So also Mantova is coming from the win with Südtirol. So 2-0 at home. So I don't see Brescia winning this one. So it's going to be another X for me, Jake.
Yeah, that's probably the logical thing, because prior to last weekend, both teams were on really horrible runs of form. And then, they get those two big wins last weekend. So really I really don't know what to say, because will this form continue? I mean, it would be two straight wins for both sides. I don't think any of them have done that this
you see
season,
what I mean? Exactly.
putting away two straight wins. But actually, yes, Brescia has done it earlier this season in September. But you know what? For that reason, yeah, I'll say a Brescia win. Also, to disagree with you, I think they'll, with the home support behind them, I think it'll win.
All right. It might happen, absolutely. And you might disagree with me, but you do agree with our friend on the chat, as Reggiana, his predictions are Reggiana Cremonese 2 and Brescia Mantova 1, agreeing with you. So we'll see. The next to predict is Cittadella Carrarese. You're up.
Oh boy! All right, so this is a huge match at the Tombolato. It's a battle of two teams that are just in opposite situations in seasons. And what I mean by that is Cittadella, the worst team at home this season in Serie B by far, 11 points, 2 wins at the Tombolato. But Carrarese have not been good on the road either. They've only had 1 win, 5 draws. One of the second worst team in Serie B based on the point tally and based on how they perform away from home. They did get that win in against Bari, which was a big one. However, Carrarese have not been good in 2025, like Cittadella, but Cittadella slightly a little more points gained in 2025. Carrarese had only gone 9 points since the start of the new year. So this is a very, man, I've been saying, and even Dal Canto said this, that Cittadella needs to find a way to get results at home. I don't think they could rely mostly on getting results away from home, just because it's unpredictable, and at home you need to be winning your games, or you need to be at least drawing them, especially against relegation rivals like Carrarese. So this is a game, honestly, I wouldn't mind a biscotto, because I think it would be beneficial for Cittadella. It really would be, because I think it's more important in these next 7 games and 6 games against the relegation rivals that you don't lose, rather than you didn't win. What I mean by that is, they need to be getting points somehow, and
Mhm.
I think it doesn't. They just losses here would just be really, really pesantissimo. Like
Indeed, very heavy, of course, for the
really,
outcome
really
of
heavy.
the season, of course.
Yeah, yeah. So for that, I I can't see Cittadella winning at home, but I can't see them lose. It would be a 6th straight loss at home. Surely it has to end, and Carrarese just on the road isn't great. So I'm going to say an X for this.
All right. I made my mind as I was listening to you, and after seeing the result, I see that Carrarese is sitting ahead of you in 11th place with 36 points. I don't think Carrarese has a team to try to achieve one of the playoff spots, and Cittadella is behind with 34. So, should you win, you are in 15th place with 34 points. Should you win this scontro diretto, let's call it this way, you would be able to jump above Carrarese. So, I don't see you losing, and I actually see you winning at home. So for me, it's a one for you guys, and
Oh,
I hope you will be able to have the best of, how do you say, the best of Carrarese. We'll be able to beat
yes.
Carrarese. I didn't want to use the word
Wow.
beat.
Wow. Well,
So
we'll see. We'll see.
yeah. Well, I brought you luck on the last one. Nobody saw you guys drawing with Cremonese, so we'll see. Anyhow, the next game to make a prediction on is Südtirol Cesena. Südtirol seemed to be in a kind of condition that was very impressive, and then they lost to Mantova, that was very far behind them, only with 31 points, and now Mantova is in 16th place with 33, while Südtirol is in 14th place with 34. So now they're going to be facing Cesena. Cesena is sitting in 8th place with 42 points, and they just lost to Juve Stabia. So I don't think Cesena is going to lose this game. So I think that, Südtirol Cesena is going to be my first win for the team away. So it's a 2 for me on this one.
Yeah, so Südtirol had been kind of on the rise until that loss against Mantova. Pretty disappointing result, I'd say, just given the way Mantova had been playing. Yes, the international break may have slowed them down a bit, but now they're back in Bolzano against a Cesena team who are currently just inside the playoff spots. They're going to need a few more wins to solidify that playoff spot. So I could see this going any either way, but I'm going to predict another X for this.
All right. While Zurowski predictions are Cittadella Carrarese X and Südtirol Cesena 2. So he agrees with you on the previous one, and he agrees with me on the most recent one. What was your prediction to Südtirol Cesena as I was dealing with
X.
behind this X? Thank you. Sorry about that. So the next prediction is going to be about the outcome of Frosinone Cosenza. You're up.
Frosinone looking to make it 5 wins in a row, and it's very possible against a really dead and buried Cosenza team. Cosenza needs to win like right now if they want a chance at making a late push for survival. I was kind of checking, how many teams who were in last place of Serie B at this moment ended up staying up, and the record was not good in recent years. So it's going to really take something special for Cosenza right now. They lost their last 2 games 4-0 against 3-0, given against strong teams like Catanzaro and Pisa. So will this be another win for Frosinone? I don't know, because Cosenza is just one of those teams that never gives up until the end. But this might be a little too much for them. I'm going to say an X for this just because I don't think Frosinone can make it 5 wins in a row. Just it has to stop at some point. So, yeah, once again, I'm predicting another draw.
Got it. So to disagree with you, and because I wish them nothing but the best, and I do like to believe in fairy tales, I'm going to predict Cosenza winning Frosinone, which is highly unlikely to happen. So I
Yeah,
want to
well,
see them
they did
making
win
it.
there last time in March
There you
of
go.
2023.
I wish them well. I wish them well. So the next round, the next game to predict is Pisa Modena. Now, as much as I think that Spezia possibilities to catch up on Pisa are unlikely to say the least. Modena is coming from the win at home with Catanzaro, if I'm not mistaken. So they are in a better shape than they've been for most of the championship. Although before that, 2 losses, 1 draw, and 1 win. Modena is currently sitting in 10th place with 38 points. And that makes them 4 points away from the playoffs. I don't see Modena making the playoff. So I don't see Modena winning in Pisa either. So against my desire, I'm not gonna go with my heart. I'm gonna go with what the reality that I perceive is. Pisa Modena is gonna be a 1.
Yeah, I mean,
Europe.
Modena is a really tough team to play. I mean, they're not. I don't think they're going to go down. They're too good to go down. But I don't know if they have enough to go into the playoffs because they're just kind of there in the second, or not the second place, the mid table. So
In
it's
the
just
limbo,
yeah, but I think it will be tough for Pisa in this game. It's going to be similar to the one before the international break where they were drawing against Mantova until those 2 goals in the second half, or against Juve Stabia where they had to come back from a goal down. So I think it'll be close, but I agree with you. I think Pisa will get the win. So it's a 1.
Right. It's a 1 for you as well. Before predicting the next game, which is Juve Stabia Salernitana, I wanted to see the comments by Zurovsky. Frosinone Cosenza 2, Frosinone's winning streak has to stop, and I like the Lupi too, so he's one of us. That's good. And as far as Pisa Modena goes, his prediction is an X, so it's against he thinks differently than we do. That's all. So that's good because Serie B is very, very unpredictable. Juve Stabia Salernitana, you're up.
Ooh, this is the derby down in Castellammare di Stabia. Salernitana, this is it for them. They got to start pulling wins together or getting at least some results. Juve Stabia getting the results in Cesena. However, they need a few more results to solidify that playoff spot. They're currently 6 points ahead of that. On paper, I think this is going to be this should be a Juve Stabia victory. However, I'm kind of hesitant to say that, just for whatever reason, for that matter. And I'm, as a person who wants Cittadella to do well and to stay up, like, I'm just always kind of pessimistic when I'm predicting other results when Cittadella needs other teams to do well. So for that, I'm actually going to say it. I'm going to say a 2 because I was thinking about an X, but I have already predicted a lot of X's. So I'll say a shock Salernitana win.
Follow your heart. But I do agree with you.
Not that I want this to happen, but
no, I get it. No, but you say I predicted a lot of X's already. It doesn't matter. You might predict all X's if you think that way. So we had a round where there were almost all but 1, maybe 2 results that were an X's. So this is Serie B, guys. Anything can happen. As far as this derby goes, I agree with you. I foresee a 2 as well. Because, although Juve Stabia might be a better team this season compared to Salernitana, hey, as you said, this is a derby. So anything goes, highly unpredictable. Salernitana needs point right now. It is now or never. So I wish them well. And I see, they could, if they don't win this one, I don't see what other games they could win this season.
This would only be the second win on the road for Salernitana. So like Carrarese, they haven't been great on the road. So this would be a really important game, and Roberto Breda, who is their coach, was in charge of Ternana. He did well to get Ternana to the playoffs when they looked done and dusted in the winter market. And so I think he knows how to get the results, even if he didn't finish the job last year with Ternana, who eventually went down in the playouts. I think I think he's a good man to lead the team right now.
All right. As far as Zurovsky goes, it's Juve Stabia Salernitana 1, Andrea Adorante with a goal. So, This brings us to the next game, which is Palermo Sassuolo. So Palermo is, with the arrival of Poyampalo, he is scoring with more and more frequency. Brunori has come back on the squad, basically. So now, after a few rounds, I guess, right out of the playoff spots, they were, 8th and 9th, 8th, sort of this kind of movement. Now they're finally sitting in 7th place with 42 points, and they're facing the rullo compressore of the Serie B league, which is Sassuolo, comfortably in first place with 72 points. And I think the last loss was in La Spezia. They lost with us, I guess. So if there is a team, this is going to be like scontro fra titani, two titans facing each other, at least economically and historically big teams. But Sassuolo is up there, as you said. If they win and Spezia loses, they are mathematically promoted. But even if they lose, they're still going to make the Serie A again. So this is a more important game for Palermo, of course, than it is for Sassuolo, also because they're playing at home. So given the momentum that they're gaining, probably Palermo could pull this one up. And Sassuolo lose. They only lost, 3 games? Yeah, 3 games in the whole season. So
yes, but a lot of 3 of those, they've lost 3 games this season, but 2 of those losses have come against Spezia and Pisa in these, quote unquote, bigger matches in, these tough environments to play in. So definitely, there's some maybe cause for concern in playing in these stadiums like this.
And certainly Spezia knows about that after last year game, and we did lose in Palermo as well. So yeah, it's a 1 for me on this one.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happen. I just think Sassuolo has the quality just to at least get a result. Palermo is definitely going to think they're going to be maybe hungrier for the result, just given how comfortable Sassuolo is, and it's just a matter of when for them to clinch the playoffs. I'm going to say an X for this, but I think it's going to be a high scoring. It's going to be like some nutty 3-3 draw or something.
3-3. Yeah. Could be. Let's see what our friend says. Palermo Sassuolo X. He agrees with you. Palermo is going to lead 2-0, and then they'll do the Spezia in 90 plus minutes. It could be. Anything can happen. Here is the comment. Sorry, I wasn't showing it. I was just reading it. So this leads us to the next game, which is Catanzaro Bari. You're up, and then I'm going to be left to predicting first Spezia Sampdoria. Yet again, even at this round, you predicted Cittadella's game first, and I'm going to predict Spezia's game first. Go ahead, Jake. Catanzaro Bari.
Catanzaro Bari. This is played in Catanzaro. I think this also has potential to be another high-scoring game for whatever reason. I don't know why. But Catanzaro like to score goals. Bari love to draw. They have 16 draws this season, but they need to start converting some of those draws into wins if they want the chance to make the playoffs. And they've already given up 20 points from winning positions, the second most in Serie B this season. So I'm going to predict a 1 for this. I think Catanzaro will get the job done, back on track for them after that loss to Modena.
To disagree with you for the sake of our game, in light of the fact that Bari has been drawing a lot and Catanzaro lost the most recent game, I'm going to predict an X.
All right.
X. So let's start the X like that. So this leads us to the last game of round 32 of the Serie B League, which is Spezia Sampdoria. A derby, then derby isn't, because derby are 2 teams from the same city, or sometimes the same region, but in this particular scenario, they're from Genoa, we are from La Spezia, of course. So anyhow, we lost with Brescia. We could lose with any other team, especially when Sampdoria has so much to fight for. This has to be a game that turns things around for us in light of the fact that Cremonese is keep gaining, even if one at a time, points at every round on us, and there are still 7 games to be played. So
And
we
they
need to
play
fight
in
for
La
that third.
Spezia on the final day.
Right. That's gonna be very romantic game. So before sharing my prediction, Drosky, Catanzaro Bari 1. So he agrees with your prediction. But as far as Spezia Sampdoria goes, I do strongly hope for a 1. So this is going to be my prediction. 1.
Yeah, if you, Ilya, if you remember last year, almost around this time, these two teams faced each other at the Pico, kind of in opposite situations. So it was Sampdoria who was fighting for the playoffs, and Spezia trying to survive. Now it's kind of flipped. More so, Sampdoria really struggling, fighting for survival, while Spezia, they're already in the playoffs, but still trying to hold on to that faint sliver of hope of achieving the second place regarding what Pisa does. So, like we've said, Luca D'Angelo is not going to be at the game. He was suspended and fined. But the Curva Ferrovia is going to be sold out. I think also Spezia as a club got like a $10,000 fine.
Okay, so yeah, in the beginning, I was telling you that I didn't want to monopolize the episode talking about this, but basically, the Spezia fan base has been receiving a lot of DASPO, so people are no longer allowed to go to the stadium for several years. So to show their disapproval, the Spezia fans, the leadership of the fan base, the organized fan base in Curva Ferrovia arrived in the Curva Ferrovia with 8 minutes of delay. And Brescia scored in the first 4 minutes. As they arrived, Spezia was trying to gain momentum. They actually throw things on the pitch. They throw a flare, and they also throw like bombe carta, so little explosive. But, these had to... the game had to be interrupted potentially in a crucial moment for Spezia to regain momentum, and Spezia Calcio got fined because of these activities by the fans. So it is not the smoothest, most harmonious situation in Spezia yet again for the team, because they're losing players due to injuries. We don't know if Salvatore Esposito will be back on the pitch. We lost Rezza, so Aurelio will be probably starting from the first minute. Lapadula hasn't woken up yet. Cicizzola keeps on making mistakes. And now there is tension also outside the pitch with Spezia citizens that are complaining about the fans that were demonstrating along the city. So it is, we lost that harmony that characterized this astonishing path of our team. So if anything can happen, it can happen in this particular kind of situation. So it's going to be an interesting end to the season.
Well, not only that, given Spezia's recent run of form, 1 win in 7, that was the win against Pisa. Definitely not form if you want to get the second place.
Absolutely.
Against a team like Sampdoria, who is just trying everything to survive, they're going to be just going over 100%, 150, 200% in this game. They're really feeling the pressure. I think they'll just do enough to get a draw. Also, given the way Spezia has been playing. So, also for that, personally, I don't see Sampdoria. I think they will get over the line. I think they will eventually survive, whether that's through the playoffs or anything. I think they're just one of those clubs that cannot get relegated in any way. Just they're too big to go down, as they say. However, it has happened in the past, so it's definitely a possibility. But personally, I don't see it. So I think they will get a draw here. So next for me.
All right. So it's an X for you. And that can very well be, sort of too big to fail kind of scenario. And that is, that they're going to be fighting their hearts out. That is so unless the players want Simplici out, because, we got to keep this kind of situation in mind. We don't know what's going on inside the locker room. Spezia, Sampdoria, this is the prediction of our new friend Zurovsky. Spezia Sampdoria 1, and it will be the last dance of Mr. Semplici. It will be sort of poetic, although in a dark way, for Semplici to end his time on Sampdoria bench after ending the previous experience as a coaching Spezia after the relegation from the major league. So it will be interesting, as usual, as at each round of Serie B is, and to find out how we did, hopefully better than last round, scoring only 1 point. We do invite you to be with us also next Wednesday, April 9th at 7 p.m. CET. And we do invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Città Calcio USA, and Elia, the Italian guy. You can find us on YouTube. And where else?
Yeah, you could Città Calcio USA, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and cittacalciousa.com for news articles, information, all that stuff about AS Cittadella. Yeah, thank you, Elia, for organizing this.
Always a pleasure. So we'll see you next Wednesday, and we will be speaking Serie B.